Hi, it's Monday, the 10th of February, and we're here to look at the current astrology. And we can just look at the news to see examples of the coming full moon in Leo with the sun in Aquarius. Because over the weekend we had the Super Bowl and Taylor Swift was booed, and apparently Donald Trump was cheered. And then he went on to brag about this on his social media. And well, there we go, right? So what we do know about him is that he has a significant amount of Leo in his chart, and he just, with that, will always want to be noticed, always want to be the one that comes out on top, always want to be the one who gets the adulation and the praise and the homage. And is most Leo energy is quite willing to stand on others in order to get to a higher height so the audience can be bigger. However, um, Taylor Swift's chart, um, I remember she has a sun in Sagittarius and in the first house, I think. And it, Sagittarius doesn't really get caught up in this neediness that Leo has to get the audience. Sagittarius just knows it's right and doesn't care really about what anybody else thinks. And the first house is very much centered on oneself. So I think as far as is Trump making a dent in Taylor Swift's ego? I don't think so. I think it probably says the whole incident probably says more about his Leo than it does her Sagittarius. But anyway, I thought that was an interesting one for as I say, for the coming full moon in Leo. Right, I will just put the chart up. Excuse me, we will just look at the chart just briefly. And then I want to talk a little bit about Sedna. Right, let me just get the share up. Right, here we go. So the moon has just moved into Leo. And so it will move 22 degrees and then be forming an opposition to the sun in Aquarius, which is will be then at 24 degrees. Okay, and also just noticing that Mercury will be very involved in it as well, because Mercury is in there, and so is Sirius. And so we've actually got, yeah, we have a full moon, but it is opposite three planets, really, not just one. Okie doke. Right. The themes which exist on the axis of Leo Aquarius are the themes that are likely to be the ones that come up during this time. And when we think about the Leo Aquarius axis, what we definitely have to think about is it's in regard to importance, self-importance, and group importance. So Aquarius says no one person is special, everyone is the same, and the group is the most important thing. Whereas Leo is all about recognition of the self as all important. Now, Leo wants to be different and unique, and needs special attention. It's all about one's own ego being special and having that adulation from childhood in order that you feel confident. Leo is actually quite a fragile sign. It's the middle sign of the fire signs, and all the middle signs are very painful, to be honest with you. So there's a great deal of pain in Leo's arrogance. Aquarius, on the other hand, doesn't want to give special attention to Leo's smallness. Aquarius says, no ego is special, and I'm just going to treat you just as I treat everybody else. The strange thing about Aquarius is it also needs to be different and unique. So being different and unique is picked up by the whole axis. But of course, Aquarians would never admit that in a million years. They think that people should not want to be different and unique, but should pull along with all others in an effort to promote the group. Okay, well, there we go. And so what the issues of the next couple of days will be, well, they'll be all about that. Am I special? Are you special? Etc. It's like lovely. Right, now I'm just going to 1 minute. I'm just going to share again so we can look at Sedna's position. Sorry about this, going all over the place. There we go. Right. So Sedna is up here. Now what's happened is Sedna has stationed and is going to move direct. So doesn't actually roll out of Gemini back into Taurus. What Sedna is doing is remaining in Gemini and going forward. So there isn't that swapping signs backwards and forwards. What's that about? As far as I'm concerned, Sedna clearly wants to be in Gemini, and I don't know why, because I would have thought Sedna was very happy in Taurus, where we've got the earthiness, which Sedna is very much about. Sedna, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to forecasting, is very responsive in terms of forecasting weather and huge events. Sedna was discovered in 2004 when we had that enormous tsunami, and the one that killed, I think it was 250 million people or something around it's Southern Asia. And and since then, Sedna has always been it's possible to actually forecast with Sedna in terms of the weather. Anyway, so definitely this planet is here to talk about climate change, and definitely this planet is here to talk about animals and how we treat animals and how we don't respect them. We don't, when we kill them, we don't offer, the appropriate prayers and thankfulness, and we treat animals terribly. We put them into battery farms and dreadful things go on. And Sedna is very much involved with husbandry and very much involved with bird flu. Sedna is very involved with birds, and as Sedna becomes highlighted again at the moment, when a planet stations, it tends to become more obvious. We have all of our chickens being put back into barns and coops and not allowed to roam free, so that they kept separate from wild birds, because it is said that those birds are passing bird flu on to the captive birds. The whole thing is a tragedy, really, because putting our farmed birds into small coops without light, little light, and nothing to occupy them for months on end because of bird flu is in itself a cruelty. So there we go. When it comes to Sedna and looking at the type of astrology that people always want to know about, how does this affect me? I think if you are following astrology and you've learned about Chiron, then I think what you need to do is just think about this is another Chiron, but it's a Chiron that is far out. The planets that are further out from the center, from the sun, tend to be about the more transpersonal issues. The ones near the sun are about your very personal issues. If you think in terms of Chiron as being a grain of sand on a beach, then you can think in terms of Sedna as representing the whole beach. She is not going to resonate with single stories. She is going to resonate with national and planet-wide issues to do with birds and animals and weather and climate change. As such, as a race, as a population, the human race, Sedna is very much our Achilles heel, in the same way that Chiron is a testing ground for how we cope with our wounds and how we cope with our disappointments and issues of frailty. How does a population cope with the disappointment of climate change that will wreak havoc eventually? Um, and it's going down that kind of road. Um, Sedna in Gemini. So looking at her themes and then looking at Gemini, I can only surmise that this is all going to become more vocal, that it's all going to become more obvious in terms of networking, communication, news stories, the stuff that we exchange, write about. And we have always got to remember that with Pluto at 2 degrees of Aquarius, so down here, if you can see the cursor, then whilst these two are in trine, they are in air. And this means that they're more obvious, they can be more talked about, there is more discovery regarding their subjects. So this is a time when these things are going to be prominent. We've also got, now, I'm just having a quick look here because I'm not sure if I've got all the dwarf planets in this program. No, I haven't, but because Pluto is making a square to Haumea, so another planet involved with the feminine and with planet Earth and protection of the Earth's crust, we can there's a bigger theme emerging here. Pluto is also in a square to Eris, which basically is a planet which says there's going to be a whole pile of trouble. And that's a wide and out of sign square now, but nevertheless. So there is a sort of very loose T-square going on now between those three dwarf planets. So that's Eris, Pluto, and Haumea. We've also got a loose square going on between Salacia, Makemake, and Quawa over here. When these outer planets get into these big formations like this, 1955 being the last time that we got things like this, the big outer planets all getting in contact with each other, it's a time when there are ribbons of change hurtling through our atmosphere and through the dark energy and dark matter which coexist with us. We're being energized with invisible force that is bringing about change. But because it's happening whilst we're here, whilst I'm talking, there is something that protects us from it. It's with hindsight that we get to look back and see what it was all about, but it is happening now. So the best thing I think we can do with the issue to do with Sedna becoming stronger is literally to look after your own, square meter. Be aware of these issues yourself because you can shop better, more wisely. You can shop according to your sympathies with animals and husbandry and farming, intensive farming, all these things. And if each one of us did that, oh boy, that would make a difference. We've also got to be looking at the plight of indigenous races, but also those who are suffering at the hands of the bigger players. So we could look to the Middle East and we could see there the potential for miscarriages of justice, but unfairness in general, just unfairness. And this is the whole story around unfairness is deeply embedded in Sedna's story, but also in Chiron's story. And Chiron is going to make 3 conjunctions with Eris this year. And so we will be hearing all about our personal wounds and our personal sense of disappointment, our personal lack of resilience. And we'll also be hearing about, because of the trine with Pluto, every time planets hit that one or that one, they ring that bell. We'll also be hearing about disappointments on a global scale. And so, okay, well, this is a massive year. So I'm just going to say this is a massive year. I think you're getting that already. And what's happening really, yes, we have this full moon this week. And yes, we have this ridiculous thing with the Super Bowl cheers and who got cheered and who got booed, um, which, let's face it, probably few of us would have written on social media about. But Trump is making sure that he is larger from life and very much in the public eye at the moment, as Leo wants to do. And so, therefore, I can't help but comment that he is the theme of Leo personified, and everything we see of him is him portraying and demonstrating the Leo energy right in front of us. It's quite amazing how the astrology, a full moon in Leo, just as this is happening. It's quite amazing. But anyway, so yeah, so there we go. It's a time really to have for us to reflect on Sedna, and there will be time enough indeed to also reflect on the things that we can make more sense of in terms of our personal disappointments, etc., and how the wisdom that can emerge that we can then use to be more at peace with our issues. I'm going to leave you with that. Thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you hopefully on Wednesday. Looking forward to it. Thanks very much. Bye.